Welcome to our channel, Sushant Suryadev. The Thames Torso Murders, often called the Thames Mysteries or the Embankment Murders, was a series of unsolved murders which occurred in London, England from 1887 to 1889. The series included 4 incidents which were filed as belonging to the same series. None of the cases were solved, and only one of the 4 victims was identified. In addition, other murders of a similar kind, taking place between 1873 and 1902, have also been associated with the same murder series. Whitehall Mystery, 1887. Between May and June 1887, the remains of a woman's body were found in the Thames River Valley village of Wrenham, having East London. Workers first encountered a bundle with the torso of a female. Throughout May and June, various parts of the same body were found in various parts of London until a complete body, with the exception of the head and upper chest, was reconstructed. Charles A. Hebbert, an assistant police surgeon, examined the body parts of 2 dismembered victims found in the Thames in 1887 and 1888. In his case report, Hebbert mentioned the difficulties that investigators had with gaining meaningful information in dismemberment cases that also involved submersion in water. These included difficulty in identifying age, height, condition in life, and even gender in cases where torsos and heads were missing. Although one suspects some male investigators would have missed key clues on the body of female victims due to lack of general knowledge of feminine hygiene and undergarments, Hebbert did note that one of the legs found in July 1887 showed that garters were worn below the knee, a custom, I believe, more common among the lower than the upper classes, who either wear garters above the knee or suspenders. In the cases he examined, Hebbert noted that the neatness of the disarticulations he examined demonstrated the skill of a butcher or hunter. The diaphragm was intact, lungs, heart, and other thoracic viscera were absent, but liver, stomach, both kidneys and spleen present. No part of small intestines from duodenum was found, nor the large intestine except the sigmoid flexure and rectum. In the pelvis were the uterus, vagina, ovaries, and appendages and bladder. An incision had evidently been made from the ensiform cartilage to the pubes. Cuts on the vertebrae were such as would be made by a saw. There were long sweeping incisions through the skin that showed that a very sharp knife had been used. The articulations were neatly and cleanly done, in each case the joint being exactly opened. The absence of ecchymosis showed all cuts were made after her murder or death. The doctors could establish that the body was of a female aged over 25 to 35, with fair skin of Caucasian origin and with dark complexion shown by the pubic hair. She had no mark of a wedding ring, and her uterus was that of a virgin. She had not borne any child and would possibly have been unable to conceive. The garter marks below the knee were common among the lower classes. Decomposition had taken place in water, and some months had elapsed since her murder or death. Medical men, including police surgeon Dr. Thomas Bond, gave their opinion that a degree of medical knowledge was evident. However, in their view, the body was no dissected for medical purposes. Even the medical knowledge, no special knowledge of anatomy, was shown, the cuts just indicated a practical skill in amputating limbs at joints and making clean, sweeping skin cuts. Such skill would be gained by a butcher or hunter. Doctor's opinion that any surgeon or anatomist could not have done the work so well as they are not constantly operating, while a butcher is almost daily cutting up carcasses. The doctors could not give a cause of death or show that a violent act had taken place, so the jury had no choice but to return a verdict of found dead. The Whitehall Mystery is an unsolved murder that took place in London in 1888. The dismembered remains of a woman were discovered at three sites in the center of the city, including the construction site of Scotland Yard, the police headquarters. The incident belongs to the so-called Thames Torso Murders. On 11 September 1888, a right arm and shoulder were discovered on the muddy shore of the River Thames in Pimlico. The Times newspaper had initially suspected that the arm was placed in the water as a medical student's prank. On 2 October 1888, during construction of the Metropolitan Police's new headquarters, to be known as New Scotland Yard, on the Victoria Embankment near Whitehall in Westminster, a worker found a parcel containing human remains. The female torso was discovered in a 3-month-old vault that made a part of the cellar. It was placed there at some point after 29 September when Richard Lawrence, a workman, had last been inside the unlocked vault. The body had been wrapped in cloth, possibly a black petticoat, and tied with string. The torso was matched by police surgeon Thomas Bond to the previously found arm and shoulder. On 17 October 1888, reporter Jasper Waring used a Spitzbergen dog, with the permission of the police and the help of a laborer, to find a left leg cut above the knee that was buried near the construction site. The head and remaining limbs were never found, and the identity of the victim was never established. Newspapers suggested a connection between this murder and the Jack the Ripper murders in and around the Whitechapel district that were occurring simultaneously, but the Metropolitan Police ruled out any connection between the cases. An inquest was opened by Westminster's coroner, John Troutbeck, on 8 October. It determined that the woman had been of large stature and well nourished, and suggested that she had been approximately 24 years old and 5 feet 8 inches in height. The uterus had been removed from the body. The right arm had been severed by someone with knowledge of human anatomy, had been tourniqueted to stem blood flow, and, due to the lack of muscle contraction, was removed post-mortem. It was also revealed that the victim had been wearing a broke sateen dress at the time of death. The dress had been manufactured in Bradford, England, from a pattern estimated as 3 years old. Pieces of newspaper found with the remains were from the Echo of 24th August and an issue of the Chronicle of unknown date. Although the cause of death was unknown, the victim had not suffocated or drowned. However, the coroner was unable to exclude hemorrhaging as the cause of death. Besides the uterus being absent, the left lung had severe pleurisy. Nothing was found to indicate that the victim had borne children. The heart was healthy and the right lung, liver, stomach, kidneys and spleen were normal. She had been dead for around 6 weeks to 2 months and had fair skin and dark hair. Furthermore, the condition of the hand recovered suggested the decedent was not an individual who was accustomed to manual labor. Elizabeth Jackson. On 4th June 1889, a female torso was found in the Thames, and more body parts were soon found in the Thames the next week. The London Times reported on 11th June that the remains found so far are as follows. Tuesday, left leg and thigh of Battersea, lower part of the abdomen. At Horsley Down. Thursday, the liver near 9 Elms, upper part of the body in Battersea Park, neck and shoulders of Battersea. Friday, right foot and part of leg at Wandsworth, left leg and foot at Limehouse. Saturday, left arm and hand at Bandside, buttocks and pelvis of Battersea, right thigh at Chelsea Embankment, yesterday, right arm and hand at Bankside. The investigation concluded that medical knowledge had been necessary to perform the dismemberment. At the inquest held by Mr. Braxton Hicks on 17th June, it was stated that the division of the parts showed skill and design. Not, however, the anatomical skill of a surgeon, but the practical knowledge of a butcher or a knacker. There was a great similarity between the condition, as regarded cutting up of the remains and that of those found at Renham and at the new police building on the Thames Embankment. The London Times of 5th June reported that in the opinion of the doctors the women had been dead only 48 hours and the body had been dissected somewhat roughly by a person who must have had some knowledge of the joints of the human body. She was about 8 months pregnant. The doctors were also this time unable to establish a cause of death. The jury, however, reached the decision of willful murder against some person or persons unknown. Though the head was never found, the victim was identified as Elizabeth Jackson, a homeless prostitute from Chelsea. Pinchen Street Torso Murder. Contemporary illustration of the discovery of the Pinchen Street torso. On 10 September 1889, Police Constable William Pennant found the headless and legless torso of an unidentified woman under a railway arch at Pinchen Street, Whitechapel. It seems probable that the murder was committed elsewhere and that parts of the dismembered body were dispersed for disposal. A woman's torso was found at 5:15 a.m. on Tuesday, 10 September 1889 under a railway arch in Pinchen Street, Whitechapel. Extensive bruising about the victim's back, hip, and arm indicated that she had been severely beaten shortly before her death, which had occurred approximately 1 day prior to the discovery of her torso. The victim's abdomen was also extensively mutilated in a manner reminiscent of the Ripper, although her genitals had not been wounded. The dismembered sections of the body are believed to have been transported to the railway arch, hidden under an old chemise. The age of the victim was estimated at 30 to 40 years. Despite a search of the area, no other sections of her body were ever found, and neither the victim nor the culprit were ever identified. Chief Inspector Swanson and Commissioner Monroe noted that the presence of blood within the torso indicated that death was not from hemorrhage or cutting of the throat. The pathologists, however, noted that the general bloodlessness of the tissues and vessels indicated that hemorrhage was the cause of death. Newspaper speculation that the body belonged to Lydia Hart, who had disappeared, was refuted after she was found recovering in hospital after a bit of a spree. Another claim that the victim was a missing girl called Emily Barker was also refuted, as the torso was from an older and taller woman. Swanson did not consider this a Ripper case and instead suggested a link to the Thames Torso Murders in Renham and Chelsea, as well as the Whitehall Mystery. Monroe agreed with Swanson's assessment. These three murders and the Pinchin Street case are suggested to be the work of a serial killer, nicknamed the Torso Killer, who could either be the same person as Jack the Ripper or a separate killer of uncertain connection. Links between these and three further murders, the Battersea Mystery of 1873 and 1874, in which two women were found dismembered, and the 1884 Tottenham Court Road Mystery have also been postulated. Experts on the murders, colloquially known as ripperologists, such as Stuart Evans, Keith Skinner, Martin Fido, and Donald Rumblow, discount any connection between the torso and Ripper killings on the basis of their different mode operation. Monroe was replaced as commissioner by Sir Edward Bradford on 21st June 1890, after a disagreement with the Home Secretary Henry Matthews over police pensions.